Good afternoon. At the outset, I thank Dr. R.K. Mishra for providing an opportunity to interact with you, specifically in the post-lunch dosing session, to alarm you and awake you regarding the presently practiced specifically in anemia. Friends, minimal access surgery has taken its own place when general surgery was diminishing, and it has created a big status for a surgeon. It has come out with certain important questions also. If we go to the history, 1901 was an important one in the history of the laparoscopy. George Kelling, a surgeon from the Dresden, used a cilioscope to examine the abdominal cavity of dogs. And with the advent of the solid state camera in 1982, it was just a matter of time before the landmark first laparoscopic cholecystectomy was performed by Philippe Mouret of Lens, France in 1987. The proponents of laparoscopic surgery highlights the reduced postoperative pain, shortened hospital stay, and cosmetic acceptance. Those concerned with the drawbacks of laparoscopic surgery mainly refer to the iatrogenic injuries, particularly so during the so-called learning curve. Patients today are flooding to hospitals with requests for laparoscopic surgery, not only for gallbladder disease but also for other surgeries also. And that is the fact. New surgical procedures have been introduced at regular intervals in the evolution of the modern surgery. Then why the laparoscopic surgery is scrutinized so closely? A laparoscopic surgeon needs to learn to operate with a two-dimensional view of three-dimensional situation. In addition, these surgeons have to do without the all-important tactile sensations, depriving him of all the important depth perceptions. Laparoscopic manipulation requires precise eye-hand coordination with awkwardly long and narrow instruments. Retraction is quite unlike that which surgeons customarily take for granted. Even simple knotting, which most surgeons do more or less subconsciously, have to learn a new procedure. Thus, criticism of the conservatives is not entirely a cry of the sour groups. It is imperative, therefore, that the reins be held tight on this new and exciting surgical horse, lest it runs away ignominy and oblivion. This can best be done by setting up credentializing committees for supervising the training processes. With robotic laparoscopic surgery knocking at our doors, the surgical community will do itself a lot of good by getting its house in order as far as training in laparoscopic surgery for the future generation of surgeons is concerned. Over 50 years ago, there seems to be a tendency to look at change as synonymous with advance. Advance means progress to something better and not progress to something new. St. Paul's advice 2000 years ago that prove all things and hold fast to what is good. Laparoscopic surgery is a completely different ballgame from conventional surgery, which offers wide exposure, tissue contact, binocular visions, and the use of traditional equipment. In thus demands specialized training. The problems of the training are further compounded by the fact that hitherto training has to be important as a crash course to surgeons in active practice. Unlike the training in conventional surgery over 4 or 5 years based on the traditional principles of hands-on apprenticeship as laid down by the Williams Hosted. 3 essential for laparoscopic surgery in developing countries: safety, economy, and care of instruments. Not surprising, these are interconnected. Safety ensures complications-free surgery, which ensures economy. Economy ensures the growth and spread of the laparoscopic surgery in our part of the world. The first laparoscopic cholecystectomy was carried out in India in 1990 at J.J. Hospital in Mumbai, and in spite of that full progress, in 2013 at all corners of the India we are seeing the surgery being carried out. So friends, it's basically a general surgical procedure, and even though credentialing is required, what is the reason behind it? And we have to ponder and think over it. I myself has undertaken the training at different places, even as a professor and head of the Department of Surgery, because I took my training in 1982 as a medical graduate and 1986 as a postgraduate student. So these are the, I have put down the various certificates I had taken and the reason behind it, why I had courses and what is the difference between these. So friend, these are the different fellowship courses and why we should have it. It needs the legal immunity. And friends, this is the one only, and I must compliment Dr. R.K. Mishra here. And this is the certificate given by the university. The training taken over here is definitely has a better immunity as far as the legal eye is concerned. In the court of law, whenever the certification is done by the university is the right platform for providing the certification. Rest other I had shown you, but they are from the various organizations. They are the surgical societies. And surgical societies are giving the training and at the end they are taking the exams and certification. But whenever university certificate is, it has got a better immunity as far as court of law is concerned. And I had presenting few cases which has already actually happened in the Indian courts. This is one case, Srimati Gurmeet Mahal versus Chobe Nursing Home, that has been in Punjab. And laparoscopic surgery and drainage was carried out. But the drainage was continuous. The patient consulted the other doctor who advised the emergency operation. The operation was carried out PGA and it was found that CBD was cut. The defense by the first doctor has taken that there was an accessory duct which was cut. But the record of the Postgraduate Institute, the second surgical team, that suggests that it was the CBD was cut, and even the patient was not informed regarding that. There was no documents available to the doctors and he was not able to prove the expertise and the training. Here the role of the training and the certification comes. He was not able to prove in the court of law and that's why he has to pay 1.69 lakhs rupees. You are aware that presently the one judgment in the consumer court has at the magnitude of the 6 crore of rupees. So you can understand the liabilities and responsibilities while undertaking these surgeries. Another case, N.K. Kohli versus Bajaj Nursing Home, that has been in Madhya Pradesh. Here also the laparoscopic cholecystectomy was carried out and there was a biliary leak. The patient was not advised ERCP. There was no record. During defense, the first surgeon told that he has advised to the patient to undertake the ERCP for removing the CBD stone. But practically in any discharge slip or nowhere in the case paper, such record was found. And it was because of the lack of record. The doctor was asked to pay 5 lakhs of rupees, and along with that hospital was also held responsible, and it was written in this judgment that it is not the hospital. They are not just for collecting the money. Because the surgeon was not owning the hospital, the owner of the hospital was different. So they make both the parties responsible and the hospital also has to pay the money. We also know the Supreme Court judgment, which is a very famous case of Poonam Verma versus Dr. Ashwin Patel, where they have specifically mentioned that the person should practice in the area of training. And if as a surgeon, when I was in training, the training was not available, should I do it? And these are the different questions for credential. Credential is an attestation of the qualification, competence or authority issued to an individual by a third party with a relevant or de facto authority or assumed competence to do so. And what is required here is a credentialing of a surgeon, surgical procedure and the surgical equipment. All the three things are required. Fortunately, the 1999, the minimum standards has been raised by the Medical Council of India, and it shows that there should be a laparoscopic set in the general surgical department of each and every medical college. So that is the basic requirement, and at present all the medical colleges, which is crossing nearly 300 at present, is having. So present day that problem has gone up, but the people who has taken the previous training, they need the credentialing and all these things. And these are the different questions coming. A professional organization as this World Laparoscopic Surgery is carrying out such courses and they are providing the immunity and training. Another question, if I have received the formal training in laparoscopic surgery, can I still be questioned about my competence and skill in a court of law? Naturally, it can be questioned, but when you have taken a training, when you have certificate from some university and all these things, definitely it will provide you the immunity in the court of law. Is training on animal models essential for laparoscopic surgery? The answer is very clear, it's not required. If the public is to be assured that surgeons performing minimal access surgery are safe, there must be some of competence assessment on which certification to practice is based, and this is the different various curriculums are raised for this thing, and they always include all these things. So once you have undertaken the training in a proper format, such things are not required. This is regarding the legal immunity, which I have already mentioned to you. The learning curve and all these things are not important as far as the legal problems are concerned. You have to be very safe in practice. Laparoscopic surgery requires a high degree of resolution, dexterity and technical skills. And basic laparoscopic procedure include laparoscopic cholecystectomy, all appendectomy, diagnostic procedure and all these things. Friends, as the time is not permitting, let me rush over. There are different training models are available, and you have to decide which model is to be used, but you have to ensure yourself that you are properly trained and your conscience should say regarding this. Another important thing regarding this minimal access surgery is the consent. Consent is Samira Kohli versus Dr. Prabha Manchanda by the Supreme Court of India, and I will little bit take time to narrate this very important part. In this case, the patient has a ultrasonography which was showing some endometriosis, and that's why the diagnostic laparoscopy was advised by the surgeon, and the consent for the diagnostic laparoscopy was carried out. While undertaking the diagnostic, the gynecologist found that there is an extensive endometriosis inside the abdomen, and patient needs pan-hysterectomy with bilateral oophorectomy. So the mother of the patient was consented. The patient was of 45 years of age, and the consent of the mother was taken because patient was under anesthesia and the mother was outside. So the assistant doctor was sent outside. She explained the situation, and the mother consent was taken in writing that she is allowing or performing the duties, and the hysterectomy was carried out. The whole event was without any problem, no complications, and the patient was alright, patient went home. But the patient in the lower court applied that there was no right to the doctor who has taken away my uterus and my reproductive life. It is not necessary that I should end up at the 45. So she asked for compensation for the same. The lower court has given the judgment in favor of the doctor, treating doctor. She went the higher authority, that is the state commission. Then she went for national commission, and ultimately in the Supreme Court of India. And Supreme Court of India has given a judgment. Till national commission she won, the doctor won. But in the state Supreme Court, they have given the judgment that the doctor who has undertaken the surgery has done not a proper job, because it is the right of the individual. It is not the mothers or any else who will decide. It is the individual's right. And at that time, there was no need of doing the immediately surgery. Patient was not having any complication on table. So person should end up with the diagnostic laparoscopy and then should ask the patient, and if patient advises, then such surgery should have been carried out. So this is a very eye-opening case, and we all must learn. And while doing the practice, we should understand this thing in a proper format, and we should take the informed consent from the patient. Another important issue is the conversion, and conversion is required in many times. We always take the consent regarding the conversion in all the laparoscopic procedures. And remember, friends, that conversion is not negligence. Convert before you make any complication. It is always safe, and always take, again repeating, obtain the consent whenever you are doing any laparoscopic procedure. As a medical man goes throughout the life, he develops a conscience which is, as it were, an end product of his reflection and experiences. If his conscience evolves along the right lines, he comes to realize the sacredness of the life and his profession too. If one develops a reverence for life and also for one's profession, one can hardly go wrong. And that's why as a surgeon we must listen our own sound. If we are undertaking the laparoscopic hernia surgery, and if we are ready to do the same procedure on our brother, then and then we should take it on our patient. So we should first satisfy our own conscience rather than considering any legal things. Same time, the procedure, it is the decision of the surgeon is correct, but he has to undertake whether it is a proper. Patient should not be considered as a guinea pig or the equipment for any skill development. At the same time, which equipment is to be utilized, that is also to be decided. But whenever you are using the reusable instrument, always remember that you must mention either to the patient that for the economic purpose you are doing it. If patient says that or denies, always use the reusable instruments. Always do not use the reusable instruments. And the main purpose behind all these things is our medical religious says, above all, do no harm. If you are not able to help your patient, at least do not harm your patient. And remember, at the end, it is not because my name is RC Shah, but if you remember RC, you will not ever to enter into the court of law. And what RC stands for? Important first thing which is usually lacking, I had seen as a medical legal consultant, and that is the record provided to the court of law. Record is not complete, not in a chronological way, not in a crystal clear, and that is the reason why the person has to attend the court of law. Always respect your colleagues. Never put down any loose comment. I had seen during my residency, one of my teacher who was seeing the patient, and there was a very ugly scar. So he commented that who was that donkey surgeon who has created this ugly scar? And the answer given by the patient was, sir, you were there before 15 years. So we should never make a loose comment against our own selves. When you are pointing one finger, it is 4 fingers towards you. The third, another important is rapport with the client. Whenever some complications has happened, you go with the folded hands to the patient, and majority, if you try to convince them, they will never be against you in the court of law. And another important thing, always provide reasonable care with the reasonable cost. If you are taking the reasonable fees, you will not be able to enter to court of law. And otherwise, Gita has rightly said, for that which is born, death is certain, and for the death, birth is certain. Therefore, grieve not over what which is inevitable. Whatever you are providing at the best of your services, provide them, and that is the best job to be done by all of us. Thank you.
The talk has been very self-explanatory.